before the Black Panthers, before Malcolm X's voice echoed across the nation.
We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
There was a man the history books quietly buried. His name was Robert F. Williams, a Marine who fought for his country, only to come home and realize the real enemy was waiting right here, an NAACP leader who refused to wait his turn. A Southern black man who didn't just carry a dream, he carried a rifle. In the segregated town of Monroe, North Carolina, Williams dared ask the question no one in the mainstream civil rights movement wanted to answer. What do you do when the law refuses to protect you? Born in 1925 into the heart of the Jim Crow South, Williams was raised not on fairy tales, but on survival stories. Mobs dragging men from their homes, courtrooms where black testimony meant nothing, and a legal system designed to keep people like him in their place. By the time he was a teenager, his anger had a heartbeat, but he didn't yet have the language for it. That would come after life taught him the hard way. Like so many during the Great Migration, Williams left the South for Detroit, hoping for better wages and dignity. He found work at Ford Motor Company, but also witnessed one of the deadliest race riots of the 1940s. Armed white mobs stormed black neighborhoods, and Williams joined local workers in defending their community with sticks, bricks, and anything they could find. That was the first time he understood something deep. Solidarity sounds different when you're the one under attack. He joined the United Auto Workers, where equality was the official slogan, but inside the factories, black workers were shoved into most dangerous jobs and quietly passed over for promotions. Williams realized racism wasn't just in the South. It was everywhere, even hiding inside movements that claimed to be allies. When World War II came, Williams enlisted in the Marine Corps, expecting to fight for freedom. Instead, he found himself cleaning latrines while white Marines trained for battle. He was told he couldn't be trusted with full military authority. That humiliation lit another fire. By the time he returned to Monroe in the mid-1950s, Williams had one belief carved into his soul. If America wouldn't defend black life, then black people would have to defend themselves. He married Mabel Ola Robinson, a schoolteacher who knew the quiet violence of Jim Crow just as well as he did, and together they took over Monroe's nearly dead NAACP chapter. In months, membership exploded. Williams didn't just bring meetings. He brought confrontation. He integrated the public library, forcing officials to let black children walk through its doors. He demanded the city pool open to everyone. And when officials chose to shut it down rather than let black and white kids swim together, he made sure the whole town saw what equality really meant in Monroe. But as their victories grew, so did the danger. Crosses burned. Cars idled outside his home at night. The Klan came armed to protests. And the police? They stood by and watched. So in 1957, Williams took a step that would make him one of the most controversial figures in the civil rights era. He formed the Black Armed Guard, a legally chartered NRA rifle club made up of mostly black military veterans. Their rule was simple: no one fires unless fired upon. It was not revenge. It was survival. That summer, when the Klan launched an armed assault on the home of Dr. Albert Perry, the Guard was ready. They returned fire, and for the first time in Monroe, the Klan retreated. It was proof that in the Jim Crow South, it sometimes took more than words to make a mob back down. But Williams' fight was just beginning, and the next battle would shake the entire nation. By the summer of 1961, Monroe was boiling over. Every night, black families slept with one ear open, listening for the sound of shattering glass or the roar of an engine carrying men in white hoods. And Robert Williams? He wasn't waiting to be a victim. Under his leadership, the Monroe NAACP chapter stopped being just a meeting hall. It became a nerve center, a place where men trained with rifles in the backwoods, where women learned to spot and follow suspicious cars. They called it self-defense. The sheriff called it trouble. The turning point came when a black couple, the Freedom Riders, was arrested in Monroe for simply sitting in a whites-only section. Word spread fast, and the mob gathered faster. Williams arrived on the scene, but he wasn't alone. His men stood in plain sight, rifles slung over their shoulders. For a moment, the mob hesitated. Even the police held back. It looked like just maybe violence would be avoided. Then chaos. A bottle flew. A shot rang out. The crowd surged, and in confusion, someone shouted, "They've kidnapped a white couple." Williams froze. He knew exactly what they were talking about. A young white pair had taken shelter in a black family's home to escape the mob. They weren't prisoners, but to the newspapers, to the police, to every racist official in North Carolina, this was a perfect excuse. By nightfall, the headline screamed, "Robert Williams wanted for kidnapping." The FBI was called in. Arrest warrants were signed. Williams went home that night knowing one thing. If he stayed in Monroe, he wouldn't see another sunrise as a free man. And as he quietly packed a bag, headlights swept across his living room wall. The headlights didn't belong to friends. They belonged to men who had been hunting Robert Williams all day, armed, deputized, and convinced that bringing him would make them heroes.
Well, I advocated violent self-defense because I don't think you can really have a defense against violent racists and against terrorists unless you're prepared to meet violence with violence. The reality is that America is not God, America is not the end of the earth, and it doesn't matter what the Americans think. In the final analysis, the truth will come out.
Williams knew that if he stepped outside, there would be no trial, only an incident the papers would call self-defense. So he didn't step outside. He disappeared. By the next morning, the FBI had plastered his face across the South. Wanted posters, radio bulletins, news stories. The message was clear. Robert Williams wasn't just a local agitator anymore. He was a fugitive, and the federal government wanted him silenced. But Williams wasn't hiding under a bed. He was moving across back roads, safe houses, and state lines. Every mile took him deeper into enemy territory, until finally, he crossed a border that no one in Monroe could have imagined. Cuba. It was 1961, the height of the Cold War, and here was an armed black civil rights leader walking into Havana as a guest of Fidel Castro. The American press exploded. To them, it was proof. Williams was a freedom fighter. He was a communist puppet. But in Cuba, Williams found something else. A platform. Radio Free Dixie, his own broadcast, beamed straight into the American South, telling black people they had the right to fight back. The U.S. government called it treason. Williams called it survival. And then, just as he began building a life in exile, a message arrived, one that would pull him back into danger and back toward America. It came from someone he trusted, someone who claimed they had proof of a plot that could destroy the entire civil rights movement. Williams read the letter twice. Then he burned it and booked passage. Where he was going next would make Monroe look like child's play. The ship docked in a place Williams hadn't seen in years. America, but this was not a homecoming. It was an ambush waiting to happen. The moment he stepped onto U.S. soil, the air felt heavier. Federal agents had his name, his photo, and his scent. Every step could be the one that led to his arrest or his death. But Williams wasn't here to surrender. He was here because of a promise, to expose a secret so dangerous that keeping it buried could doom the entire civil rights struggle. The meeting was set for midnight in a back room of a small-town church. The man waiting inside was trembling, eyes darting to the windows. He handed Williams a folder, thick, worn, edges singed as if someone had already tried to destroy it. Inside were names, dates, and memos stamped confidential. It was proof. Government infiltration, sabotage, and plans to fracture the movement from the inside. Williams barely had time to turn the last page before the sound hit. Tires screeching, doors slamming, heavy boots pounding against the pavement. The back door burst open. Flashlights cut through the dark. Robert F. Williams, you're under arrest. He had seconds to decide. Stay and be dragged into a trial rigged against him, or vanish again and carry the truth with him into the shadows. He chose. But what he chose had been argued about for decades, because some say he escaped that night. Others swear he was taken, but the files he held disappeared forever. What no one disputes is this. Robert F. Williams fought a war the history books still refuse to tell. and whether the final chapter was written in freedom or a prison cell. The man who dared to say, "We will shoot back," never bowed his head. Some say he paid the price for it. Others say he's still paying. If this story moved you, if it made you question why you've never heard it before, don't let it vanish into silence again. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss another buried chapter of our history. Share this video with someone who needs to know that resistance didn't start or end with what's in the textbooks. Because the more of us who know, the harder it is for them to erase.